Hello and welcome to a sneak episode of Dylan Knows. It's actually a Monday morning at 11:02 a.m. Now, normally I would be at work today, but up here in the Mid-Atlantic region, no, it's not a Super Bowl hangover. We will talk about the Super Bowl today, though. Where I'm in the Baltimore County area, the schools are closed today. Dawn and I, my wife, we have a understanding where one stays home, the other stays home. And there have been lots of delays this year so far. So I seem to be hitting all the days off school, and she gets all the 2-hour openings. But in the end, it works out. So I'm staying home with the kids today because originally it was going to be a 2-hour delay, but instead it became a day off of school. So technically it's a snow day, even though it's icy. The sun is out right now, but the temperature is below 20. I think it's below 32 rather. So we had a lot of rain yesterday, which we needed because we were in a drought condition. But because of that and because of the cold, yeah, right now it's 25 degrees in Reisterstown. It says it's going to reach 33, but right now it's not going to get above freezing until 3 o'clock, and that's at freezing. Actually, no, it's not. That's at freezing. It doesn't even say it's going to get above freezing today. So who knows what's going to happen, because we had a lot of, well, let's just flip. So Saturday night into Sunday, it started off as snow, and then it turned to freezing rain and sleet, and then freezing rain, and then regular rain, and then it rained pretty much the whole day. And then the temperature was dropping. The temperature stayed pretty normal through the whole day yesterday on Sunday. But then overnight, the temperature dropped below, which caused icy conditions. The roads that weren't treated, because everyone thought it would be needed to be treated, and the amount of rain that we got, freezing lots of back roads and even some of the main roads. So there was lots of black ice, which is, looks like the road, but when you get on the road, you start slipping and sliding like that. A local traffic guy who I follow on Twitter was saying that this morning there were dozens of accidents out on the road due to slippery conditions. Schools originally were supposed to be 2 hours late, but with the temperature not getting above freezing and the back roads not really getting any salt and stuff like that, they decided just to cancel it. In this case, I kind of am okay with it, though this knocks me down to, I had 15 vacation days. I'm down to 12 now. So, because I've taken 3 vacation days just January, February alone for days off of school because the kids aren't old enough to stay by themselves. But if they have another delayed opening or another day of closing, like it looks like it's going to be snowing on Wednesday, that they will be closed as possible. My wife will stay home with the kids then. So it all works out. But today I'm just going to do a real quick one. The reason I'm doing it today and not this weekend, for those who follow me on Twitter, this weekend was supposed to be Man Day 3, where me and MJ Khan were going to do an episode detailing the Super Bowl. Have a good show. Oh, how does she know I'm doing a show? I didn't say anything. That's weird. Oh, well. That's weird. I don't remember telling her that I was going to do a show or doing it, and I didn't say anything on Twitter, so I don't know. Anyway, MJ Khan and I were supposed to do our annual Man Day episode before the Super Bowl. We were going to do it on Saturday because I'll talk all about Sunday. That's what this episode is basically about. We were going to do it Saturday night, so we got prepped. We had everything ready Saturday, 9:30 p.m., but MJ could not hear me. I could hear him, but he could not hear me, so we could not have a conversation back and forth on this. So we tried 3 or 4 different things, and it didn't work. I shut all the way off. He shut all the way off. I shut it just partially off and restarted the episode. He did the same thing. I don't know what it is, and hopefully in a couple weeks it'll be fixed, because we're going to do our Black Panther review, because I'll be watching that next week. And I'm taking next Friday off, so that'll be my 4th vacation day, but I've already put in for that, and I like to do that. I'm not going to change it because of snow and ice and stuff like that. I'll just take less days off in the rest of the year, because I have plenty. So I was a little peeved because the Man Day show is one of my favorite shows to do on Dylan Knows, and I know it's one of MJ's also. We were gonna talk Super Bowl before it actually happened, and then we were gonna do comic book stuff. So it didn't happen, and I got a little peeved because I'd had a rough Friday, and then this happened on Saturday, and now I was like, ugh, what a weekend, right? So instead, once I discovered I had this new free day, as it were, off from school and work, I figured I'll do a quick one right now, early enough so that once I'm done, we'll get the kids dressed and they'll get their lunch, and we'll start doing stuff around the house that needs to get done, because there's some dirty stuff that needs to get done, and laundry, and Noah needs to work on one of his projects. So we're gonna do a bunch of stuff there. So it'll be fun. We'll do some fun stuff. So this one's probably going to be a quick episode. I don't expect it to be any longer than an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the longest. So hooray for that. It's less of me. So this episode is basically going to be taking a look at the Super Bowl, my first NHL hockey game, Super Bowl commercials, maybe some of the comic book news I was going to do with MJ, Check Eye Day. I talked about the ice already. Maybe what I did on Saturday, and some other stuff as well. But it's mostly going to be about yesterday, Sunday, for those who are watching later in the week. I will be having another episode of Dylan Knows this upcoming weekend. I haven't decided if it's going to be another solo one or if it's too late to get Jerry involved, because I don't know. Do we have a... Yes, we do. We do have a idea, so we'll have to look into that. I'll talk to her and see what we had decided, or I'll go back and watch the episode and see, because we talked about the end of the episode what we had decided we were going to do. So, so here we go. Sorry if I'm a little out of it. I'm still kind of tired. It's been a long few days. So Saturday, basically what's going on is Dawn and Noah's in the Boy Scouts, and Dawn is his leader. They had to do a project at Home Depot as one of their things that they have to do for moving up in the Boy Scout world. So they were going to do that, and then Noel's basketball was having their all-star game. So they were going to have pictures and then a 3-on-3 tournament. Noelle wasn't that excited about the 3-on-3 tournament, but we wanted to get pictures with her team and solo. So we did that, and then she got something in her eye and she was upset and it was hurting and she was tired and she didn't want to do it. So, and she was afraid. I also think she was afraid she wasn't going to be picked for the 3-on-3 teams. So she just decided she wanted to leave. So we did. And then we had to go to the library because the library is awesome, because if you haven't been to the library lately, they no longer use stamps. It's all computerized. And when you're done scanning your stuff, you print out a receipt and it tells you when the books are due. So there's nothing stamped on the book anymore. It tells you when it's due. So, and also all the books you got. However, I missed the date by a week. I thought the books were due on Saturday. And I found out middle of last week that they were actually due last Saturday. So we were already late returning the books. So we just took the books in, turned out to find they did, it was more than 14. It was like 16. It's like 16 books combined. Noah and Noelle got out, and it was like $24 to, because it had been almost 7 days since it was overdue. So it's like 10 cents a book or something like that. So it actually works out in the end. So it was only like $24, which, still a lot of money, but it's not that bad. And Noelle had to look for a book for her next project, which was on Sacagawea, and the library didn't even have any real good books on Sacagawea. Both branches, there's a branch right here in Reisterstown and one in Owings Mills. We went to both. They don't have either. And then we went to a bookstore called Greens and Readings, which is local bookstore. They didn't have anything on Sacagawea. So I just ordered on Amazon, and they're coming today. So they should be here today sometime so she can start on her project. Noah's project is he has an invention convention on Friday. He has to create an invention and present it. He decided to come up with napkin hands, which he very rarely uses the napkin like a regular napkin. He wipes any spills or whatever on his hands or on his sleeves. So we came up with a way to have like gloves made out of napkins that he could use on his face, or big mat type of thing. So, or hand mitt or something like that. So this is kind of interesting. So we'll work on that a little bit today. And then Noelle should find out if she is going to get in any of her magnet schools on Friday as well, for art. So we'll see what happens with that. So it should be a big week for that. And then after all that, going back to Pokemon Go now, Noah and I got EX raids, which are passes that are specialized passes for a legendary Pokemon called Mewtwo, which we've already had caught, but we hadn't done one in a while. So we got these passes, and Noah and I were the only ones who got it. So we went and we did our Mewtwo raid out in Hunt Valley, and we both got them. So I have my third one. I'm 3 for 3 on Mewtwo, and Noah is 2 for 3 on Mewtwo. Then, as I said, we went to Greens and Readings, which is out in Hunt Valley, and we also went to lunch out there at the Green Turtle, which is a local like sports bar restaurant, which is pretty nice. It was good. It was good food. So, and we came back, and then what did we do Saturday night? They played. I think they played some Mario Kart, and then what was that, Friday? I don't remember what we did Saturday night. And then I was going to prep for my show, and then it didn't happen. And then Sunday was my brother-in-law Mike's 40th birthday. What he wanted to do was he's a Washington Capitals fan, which is the NHL hockey team that's local. I mean, we don't have one in Baltimore. The local one is the Capitals in Washington, D.C. He wanted to go to a Washington Capitals game and have everybody, go with him. That was his wish. So those of us who could went. Me, Dawn, and the kids, my in-laws, his wife and family, of course, his sister and brother-in-law and their 2 kids also went there, and a friend of his that had been staying with him for about a week that lives out in, I think, California or something like that. He came back for the party, so he had been staying with them for a while. So we had a good little crowd, and I had never been to an NHL game before. The Capital One Center is in the middle of Washington, D.C., actually near Gallery Place / Chinatown. And I hate driving into Washington, D.C. But luckily, my in-laws, they live really close to the Glenmount Metro. Washington, D.C.'s Metro is really, really good. And the Glenmount Metro is the end of the Red Line, and one end of the Red Line. And it happens to just be the right one you want to go to get to the Capital One Center, Capital One Arena, rather. So we got on, we drove down there, and we got into the Metro there, and we took the Metro into Gallery Place in Chinatown, which is where the Capital One Arena is. And then we caught up with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they got us, they bought the tickets, and then we gave them the money for it. And then they got us in, and we got into the Capital One Center, and we got to see our first hockey game. I've never really been a big fan of hockey. But it was an interesting, fast-paced game. It moves really, really fast. I didn't know entirely all the rules. I'm not exactly sure what constitutes a penalty and what doesn't, because there was lots of tripping and lots of smashing up against the walls and a little bit of fighting and stuff like that. I know a little bit of what some of the penalties are, but there were only like 3 penalties, maybe 4 in the whole game, which was kind of low for a hockey game usually. And I didn't really understand. They didn't really explain why they were penalized. They just said, here we go. The arena is cold. I didn't think it was going to be as cold as it was, because my nephew, he did the local ice house back here in Reisterstown a while back, and that was frigid. But there was a smaller area, fit less people in it, and I guess you got to keep the ice cold, obviously. But yeah, we got into the arena at Capital One Arena. I thought, okay, it's a bigger arena. They should be able to keep the cold more down to the ground so the ice doesn't melt. No, it was still really chilly in the arena also, which I guess in the end is understandable. Plus, it was a little rough because we were out in the rain, because it was raining hard when we got out of the Metro to walk to where the tickets were. So we got a little wet there. Excuse me. The Capitals were playing the Las Vegas Golden Knights, this is their first year. They were an expansion team. This is their first year playing, and from what I heard, they have one more win than any other expansion team in history. So they're actually doing pretty good, and they got another one today, or rather on Sunday. The Golden Knights beat the Caps 4-3. It was a really fun, fast-paced game. The Caps have a mascot. It's like an eagle called Slapshot, who came out every once in a while. And there's 3 periods, 20 minutes each, and there's very rare times where they stop the clock. There are some, but not nearly as much as, say, a baseball or football game. And there's reviews also. There was one review in the game as well, and it was interesting. It was really fast paced, and the crowd was pretty excited. It was a light crowd, but I think that was a couple of things. I don't think the Capitals are as good as they have been lately. It was Super Bowl Sunday. It was raining, and it was because of the Super Bowl. They played at 12:35, which is usually not the time that they play. There was only 2 other hockey games in the morning. Or at that time, around that time, they were at 1 o'clock. But they started at 12:35 just so people could get out and get to their Super Bowl parties. So that's one of the main reasons why Mike decided he wanted to go to this. Not only was it on his 40th birthday, but it was because it was an early game, and it would give us enough time to, if we wanted to leave and go to a Super Bowl party, because we usually do a Super Bowl party, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. We got down there. Noah, I think, was a little bored with it. After like the first period, he asked when we were leaving, and even being with his cousins that he likes, they couldn't really play. They were confined to their seats where they were sitting, so they were just watching this game. And it was, I could see, being like an 8-year-old boy and not really being that interested in it. It's understandable. Noel was okay interested in it also, and they do things like they do at all the games, try to get the fans into it. They clap and they chant, and when they score, they yell and scream and high five and stuff like that. Now, one of the things I found odd is whenever either team scored, they would go back to playing on the ice. And so while they're playing on the ice and continuing the game after the score happened, all of a sudden the announcer starts in his booming voice talking about, who scored the goals and how and who assisted them and what time did it happen, in a really loud booming voice while they're playing the game, not at a timeout or anything like that, which would make more sense. You want to announce this maybe when the players aren't on the ice. No, they did it when they were on the ice, and they did that all the time. And I found that it was kind of odd, because I think it would be kind of distracting for the hockey players. I guess it isn't, because maybe it's a normal thing. The other thing that I found interesting was, and this one I understand, debris on the ice. And this happens a little bit more often than I thought it did, because it happened. There were at least 3 to 4 instances where this happened. The first one, and the most egregious one, was someone lost their stick in the middle of the game, and you don't want to stop the game because it's so fast paced, and the guy who lost his stick had to skate out and get replaced by someone, but he couldn't get his stick, and the referees couldn't move the stick out of the playing arena because they were watching the game that was on the other side of the ice. The goalie couldn't move it because he had to stay in the goal in case there was a quick breakaway. None of the players could really move it because they were fighting to try to score a goal, because the game is so fast paced, it just sits there. And to me, that seems kind of dangerous. You're on ice skates and you're skating along, and there's a full stick in the middle of the ice that you have to get around. I found that odd. Another time was half the blade part at the bottom came off of another stick during the game and had to stay out on the ice for a while. I think someone's glove came off and stayed on the ice for a while. And then eventually, once a timeout came or there was a stoppage of the clock, whatever, they were able to get it off of the field and stuff, of the ice, and get back to normal. But for the longest time, that stick, I was just watching it because it was in my line of sight. It sat there for like 5 minutes, and there were people who were skating around it. I was like, wow, that's kind of dangerous. Another fascinating thing I found about the game was watching the goalies, because we had a really good view of the one goal up here on the one side of the rink, and just watching them and how they block the goal, because they're in full regalia. They've got their stick, they've got pads all the way, or shields or whatever all the way up their skin, and they've got the helmet, stuff like that. And sometimes they'd have to do like splits and have their feet together in a strange way so that those blades that they had on their legs, like shin guard type of things, would block the opening so you couldn't get it in. And then they had their hands, and then they would have to crouch down, sometimes down real low with their stick, and try to bat it away from someone who's around there. Or if they're on one side of the net, they had to be crouched down to make sure it doesn't get there. And then of course it gets shot at you, and the goalie got hit in the stomach a number of times with the puck, and just the craziness. So I found that it was really interesting to watch the goalies for most of the game, because they were doing all kinds of really wild setups to protect the goal, which is what they have to do to protect the goal. So I just thought it was kind of neat. And I guess it's legal also to smash people up against the wall of the arena, and that's what I think they call a hit, and they keep track of that. It's like a stat. So that's kind of interesting as well. So let's see, any other thoughts on it? I found it not odd, and I guess I kind of understand, because it's a bit more taxing game, I guess, than some of the other ones. I mean, football's pretty taxing, but here you're in full pads, helmet, stick, you're on ice skates, and you're going up and down the ice rink and getting slammed into things, getting tripped, falling on the ground, getting flipped, getting a puck coming at you like 100 miles an hour that could smash your teeth in, knock you out. You can get into fights and stuff like that. So it's more taxing on the bodies of the hockey players than maybe. Now, I guess football is similar with a lot of the hitting and the tackles and stuff like that, and that's why maybe they have a few more timeouts and commercial breaks during that time in football because of that. But what I found interesting was in between the periods, there's 3 periods, and they're all 20 minutes each. In between the periods, there's like a 15 to 17 minute intermission. So you get a 20-minute, so basically there is 5 periods for the most part, because between the first and second period and the second and third period, there are these 2 like 17-minute rest periods, which again, I can understand. And it also gives a chance for, local kids to come out and play on, the big league ice. My nephew Carson, who's in hockey, who I saw at the ice house here a couple months ago, his team got to be on the Capitals ice at one time. And he got interviewed by one of the people out there. And so, it has, they do stuff like at baseball games also. They were giving away pizzas and Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and they had raffles where you could win. It was a 50-50 raffle, and the raffle was like $18,000, and you get half of that if you had the winning ticket. So that's $9,000. Pretty nice. You could win that day if you wanted to, if you bought a ticket. Another thing I found interesting was the concessions. They didn't seem to be too bad. Baseball and football. I mean, it was when we went, it was a different time. But in between the periods, obviously, the lines were a lot longer and it took longer. But they seemed to be really efficient and really fast, which is really cool. But the one thing I noticed is that we were on the second level, and when you go out into the concession area, there were a number of vendors. I mean, guys, like at baseball and football, where they come up and down the steps and sell cold beer here, cold beer, or pretzels or whatever. It was mostly cold beer. But in this case, they didn't really do that where we were. They just set their stuff outside and said, hey, come buy it here. So you would go to them instead of them coming to you. So if you didn't want to wait in line at the concession stand and you wanted a beer, you could go to this guy who was just standing there saying, beer here, and you just pay for it right there. And he was a guy who would walk up and down, but instead he was on the main level and just said, you can come here, you can buy it right now. So it was pretty interesting. It was a lot easier to get to the arena because of the metro stop being so close, and so that's a plus because I did not want to drive in DC, particularly on a rainy day. So that was good. Um, any other thoughts I had? No, no, not really. It was interesting. It was fun, but I don't know if it's something that I would do again. I wouldn't go out of my way to say, "Hey, let's go to a hockey game." No, hockey just doesn't interest me. I mean, it was fast paced. It was a fun game, and in the end, it was almost exactly 2.5 hours because the game started at 12:30. It was over at 3 o'clock, almost on the dot. So that's one of the pluses because there was very little stoppages in the game. Oh, the other thing also I found interesting was the ushers. They had, if you had stepped out during like a timeout or something like that to go to the bathroom, get something to eat or whatever, and when you were coming back to get to your seat and the game was in session, you had to wait outside. The usher had to hold up a sign that says "Stop Puck and Play." I guess it means so because the puck has the possibility that if they hit it hard enough, it'll fly into the stands. And it happened once in the whole game yesterday that it flew to the stands. But we were up on the second level, and I was like, I guess it could, but I find it highly unlikely that anyone could get enough lift on it to get it up to where we were. I guess they just want to make sure everybody's safe because you're not distracting the people on the ice by walking up and down. I think it was mostly for the fact that, well, what if it did get enough lift and come flying up and you're walking and you have a possibility of getting hit? I don't know. Regardless, the ushers, they held signs, and then it was so interesting. I was sitting right by the aisleway, and as soon as there was a timeout, all of a sudden a mob of like 20 people would come rolling in because they had to wait for the timeout or whatever. So it was interesting. But I said it was fast paced and it was fun, and it was for my brother-in-law, and he seemed to enjoy it, so that was good. And then afterwards, they said we could come over to their house for a Super Bowl party, but not like a big professional one. They weren't, they had some stuff prepped for food, but it wasn't like a regular Super Bowl party where they have all the beer and the drinks and they have all the food out there, stuff like that. No, we came to their house, and they had some appetizery stuff, and they had a really good guacamole, and they had a really good queso dip, which had sausages in it, which was really good. And then they made hot wings, and they made like this lasagna thing, which was really good too. And then they had some beer and wine and soda and lemonade and water and stuff like that. And so it was just a fun, informal little thing. The party we usually go to is a big to-do where everybody brings an appetizer and there's all kinds of food all the time, and nonstop eating. This was more just a group of people just hanging out and enjoying it, and discussing football and other stuff as well. And so it was a good time. And then we left about midway through the third quarter to go home, and we let the kids stay up to watch the end of the game because they were excited to see what would happen with the Eagles winning. And I'll get to that in a few seconds. Then they went to bed, and then they got lucky that they had a day off of school today because they slept in today because they didn't go to bed till really late, and they got to sleep in a little bit. So I didn't get to sleep because at the time I thought we were going to have a regular day, and I had to get up at 5:30. So we'll see what happens. But that was my first hockey game visit and the Super Bowl party thing. That was good. I'm talking about the Super Bowl real quick, and then I'll talk about Super Bowl commercials and then a few other things as well, and then we'll be out of your hair. Oops. Yeah, I talked about that too. So the Super Bowl obviously was yesterday. It's the last game of the year for football, so there is no football that counts until September. We won't know what the first games are for a while. The way the football season goes now is, so you had the Super Bowl. That was the last game. So now the winning team gets their parade, and then free agency starts in about a month or so, I think. And people start, trading teams and going to different teams, and re-signing big contracts and stuff like that. And then you have the draft, and then there might be some, OTAs and some early training somewhere in there, but nothing that we get to see on television and stuff like that. The trading is the big thing because, social media and ESPN and stuff like that, they go absolutely crazy for the trades. And then April rolls around, and as prepping for the draft is usually at the end of April, and they do the schedule release about a week before the draft. So ESPN does a schedule release show where they say, this is your schedule for this year. I mean, what teams you're playing. You just know when or where, or if you're on national TV and stuff like that, because they have a formula in the NFL. And I'll give it to you real quick if you don't know what it is. I'm just saying the Ravens are in the AFC. So they play 16 games and they have one bye. So it's a 17-week season, regular season. And then they have the 3 to 4 weeks of playoffs, and then they have like 4 weeks of preseason, but preseason doesn't really count. So in the regular season, they play 16 games. Okay. Every team is in a division within their subdivision. They're a subdivision within their division. So the Ravens are an AFC team. They're the AFC North. And the other teams in our division are the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens play those 3 teams twice, a home and away game. So they play the Steelers, they play the Bengals, and they play the Browns. So there's 6 of your 16 games, one home, one away, one home, one away, one home, one away. You play those 6 games within your division. And those are the most important ones. Those 6 are probably the most important games you're going to want, because if you win all 6 of those, you can pretty much, know that you're probably going to win your division, or at least have a really good shot at it, depending on what you do with the other stuff. Then you play one other subdivision in the AFC South, the AFC West, or the AFC East. And it rotates every year. This year we played the AFC South, which was the Colts, Titans, Jaguars, and I always forget who the other one is. Colts, Titans, Jaguars, and Texans. So we played them. So there's 4 more games. So that makes 10. So this year, I think we're playing the AFC West. So the Ravens will have to play San Diego. Well, it's not San Diego anymore. The Los Angeles Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, the Oakland Raiders, and who's the other one out there? Denver Broncos. So we're going to be playing those 4 teams, 2 of which will be played at home, 2 of which will be played away. So there's your 10 games. So now you have 6 more games. Okay. Now there's the AFC division, and then there's the NFC division. The NFC is the other 16 teams, and they're all divided in the same way. They have NFC East, NFC North, NFC West, and NFC South. We play one of those subdivisions. So there's your other 4. That's 14 games right now. So this year we played the NFC North, which was the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, and the Lions. This year, again, because of the way it worked out, we're playing the NFC West this year. So we'll be playing the Los Angeles Rams, we're playing the Arizona Cardinals, we're playing the Seattle Seahawks, and again, I can't remember the other team that's out there. Oh, the San Francisco 49ers. So we play those. So there's your 14 games right there. And again, 2 at home, 2 away. So it works out that way. And then the last 2 games, that's where it gets a little complicated. So in the AFC and in the NFC, there are 4 divisions. As the AFC North, AFC South, AFC East, AFC West. The Ravens are AFC North. They're already playing the AFC West. So that leaves the AFC South and the AFC East. What you do then, and there's, look at that, 2 games. What you do then is wherever your team ended last season, because the Ravens were in 2nd place last year. So we play whoever finished 2nd in the AFC South and the AFC East. I think we play the Bills, because I think they finished 2nd in the AFC East because they were in the playoffs. So we play the Bills, and we play in the AFC South. We play, it's not the Colts, it's not the Jags. it's either going to be the Texans or the Titans. I think it's the Titans. So we're playing the Titans again. So we're playing the Titans and the Bills. Again, one is a home, one is an away game. There's your 16 games. So we know who we're playing. We just don't know when. I can guarantee you that one of the Steelers-Ravens games is going to be a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, or maybe even a Thursday night game. It's going to be a national game. And then they'll try to probably give the Ravens maybe two more. It depends on how well your team is. They try to give everybody at least one national game, but of course they're going to give the higher rating teams like the Patriots, and they'll give the Eagles a bunch of games, big games next year also. So it all depends on the teams and stuff like that. The Redskins and Cowboys always have a big game also that gets to one of the national games and stuff like that. So, and the Eagles will probably, since they won the Super Bowl, they'll start the NFL season off with the first game of the year playing somebody. So, I mean, it might be happenstance that they're playing the AFC East and they could have a Patriots-Eagles rematch at the opening of the season. So we'll see. But you'll get a bunch of the popular teams will get 4 to 5 of these national games. Steelers will probably get a bunch of national games because they were in first place and they made it to the playoffs. So all the playoff teams tend to get a little extra attention. But then there are teams that bring in good ratings, like the Ravens get at least 2 to 3 national games because they're always good ratings boosters as well. So, and also who they're playing too. So we might get a national game against the Rams because the Rams did really well this year, or a national game against the Broncos or something like that. So we'll see. So that's how schedule works out. So you get the schedule, and then you get the draft, and then there's practices, and then you have the preseason, and then the season starts again in September. So that's how the football's going to go from now on. But Super Bowl, for those who don't know, obviously everyone should know by now, Eagles beat the Patriots 41-33, excuse me, 41-33. The Patriots were the first Super Bowl team to rack up over 600 yards and lose, meaning offensively, they between Brady and their running game, they did 600 yards. I think the Eagles did just about as many also. To me, in my personal opinion, and not just because I hate Tom Brady and the Patriots and that the Patriots lost, but this was actually one of the best Super Bowls in a while. It was interesting. It was a good back and forth. Like last year's was fun for the first half because everybody hates the Patriots and the Falcons were just putting a beating on them. Like, oh, okay, this is fantastic. 28-3, they got plenty of that. And then the Patriots came storming back and ended up beating them. And that wasn't a lot of fun. And then, there was like a Seahawks game the year before, and it was just not as, but this was an actual, reminded me of the Steelers Cardinals Super Bowl from a few years back, which was a really, really good one as well. Another back and forth. When you have these back and forths, that makes it for more interesting football. Just because, if like, I'll give a good example. Both Ravens Super Bowl wins. One was a complete blowout. So that was fun because it was our first one and we won. But, from everybody else's perspective, this is boring. Then their second one against the 49ers, the way the final score ended, you thought it'd be a back and forth. It really wasn't. The Ravens were pretty much in control for the first half, and then they had the blackout, and then the 49ers came storming back. When that sort of happens, it's sort of like, well, when one team does so better in one half and one team does better in the other half, it's not a give and take. When you do a play for play, like, the game started off with the Eagles scoring a touchdown, and then the Patriots took it all the way down the field, but they ended up having just to go for a field goal, and then the Eagles came back out again. They got like a field goal, and then or another touchdown or something like that, or I forget what happened. And then the Patriots went down. They got a touchdown. So it was like a back and forth all the way through it. So that was what makes it real entertaining. Plus, you got to see some really crazy things, some crazy plays. The Patriots tried the old fake where they lateraled it twice and then they threw it to Brady to be a receiver, but he couldn't catch it. So then the Eagles on 4th and 1 or 4th and goal or something like that, they did the exact same play and Nick Foles brought in for a touchdown, and that put them ahead, I think. and then there was like the body slam by one of the Eagles on one of the Patriots players, and just in general, just it was a good game. There was, it was a good lot of back and forth, a lot of points scored, which made it an interesting game. There's really not much more I can say about it. Pink did a really good rendition of the national anthem, despite the fact that she was sick and had the flu. Justin Timberlake did a passable halftime show. It was kind of boring, as I'm not a big Justin Timberlake fan, but it didn't wow me. It was just sort of average. And it was just, it was just maybe just because it was a long weekend. It was the Super Bowl itself was just, it was, as I said, it was an exciting game, but there's just something off about it because, Patriots had been there again. This is the Eagles' first chance, but a lot of people don't like the Eagles. It's just but in the end, it was a good Super Bowl. Good to see Nick Foles, who is a backup quarterback, play 3 really good games in the postseason. And hate to be in the Eagles' shoes, what they're going to do with their quarterback situation, and also hate to be in the Vikings shoes also, because they've got a whole bunch of decisions they have to make, and everybody's got lots of decisions to make. I want to give praise to Ray Lewis for getting picked for the Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer. You also get joined by Randy Moss and T.O. and Bobby Beathard and Brian Urlacher. So it's an interesting class for the Hall of Fame. Nick Foles deserved to be the Super Bowl MVP. Because he played a really good game. It was both quarterbacks played a really good game, and it was just it was a really good Super Bowl from a game standpoint. It was a edge of your seat, back and forth, rough and tumble battle. So I don't think I really have much more to say about that. That isn't already said. The next day, today particularly, you're going to see all the breakdowns of the Super Bowl and what could have happened and what should have happened and what could have happened. Everybody playing Monday morning quarterback. What you should have done here. What you should have done here. People second guessing even the Eagles. I've already seen that already. It's like, why would you go for 2 in a situation where you don't need to go for 2? It's stupid. It's like, no, he was trying to make a statement, and you fail, and you live with your failures. And they almost lost the Super Bowl because of that decision. But you know what? You make the decision. You made a decision, and you showed a little bit of gumption, and that's fine. That's what makes it interesting. I didn't win again any of my Super Bowl / football pools I'm in. There's a full season football pool I'm in. It's like a survivor league, but if your team doesn't win, you don't lose. You don't get kicked out. You just don't get a point, and then you collect all your points, and then the points like double and triple and quadruple when you get into the playoffs, and whoever has the most points at the end wins the money. And so there's a lot of people, and so you win like a couple $1,000s in the end. I didn't win that one. I was close, but I didn't win that one. And then there was the block thing that we did at work, where you pick 2 blocks, and then they fill in the numbers, and one section is Patriots and one is Eagles. And then at the end of every quarter, if the score of the Super Bowl matches the box where you have like a 3 and a 3 or whatever, you win the money. So I didn't win that either, which isn't unusual. I've never won those, so I don't know why I keep doing it, because it's fun, I guess. So there's that. And let's see. The next thing up is another reason why people like the Super Bowl is because you get to see the Super Bowl commercials. Again, some were really stupid. Some were pretty good. You got to see some movie premieres. You got to see the first. It was interesting. You saw the first footage from the new Han Solo movie. It's coming out Memorial Day. It was a teaser trailer for a trailer that's coming out today. So usually what they do is when they do a teaser trailer for a trailer that's coming out today, the next day, they usually use snippets of that trailer in the teaser trailer. In this case, it was 2 completely different trailers, to be honest, because there was different scenes in both of them. So it was kind of good to see it. The first one was okay, but I'm kind of digging it a little bit. I kind of like the vibe a little bit, and it might be interesting. I don't think it's going to be as good as like a Rogue One or the original Star Wars movies, but it could be a fun, entertaining summer film. And I hope it is successful, because everybody's thinking it's going to be a huge flop. And We'll see. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of turmoil behind the scenes. There were the guys who directed the Lego movie, originally directed it, and they were almost like 80% done when they got kicked off of the movie because the production company didn't like the comedic tone it was showing. They wanted to get a little bit more sci-fi dramatics in there. So they brought in Ron Howard to come in. He had to reshoot a whole ton of it and put his spin on it. So we'll see. There's still some humor in it a little bit, but it should be. I think I think it'll be interesting, and I think it should do okay. I don't think it's going to be an amazing movie, but as long as I don't want it to be a failure, I'd like to see it succeed because it looks interesting, and I also hope it's successful because I want to see a Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan movie. So that's just me, though. So other movie premieres, they showed the next trailer for Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom, which is coming out the weekend of my birthday, June 22nd. It looks looks completely different than the first trailer we saw for it. The first trailer basically set up the fact that the island, Isla Nublar, where Jurassic Park is a volcano is erupting on it and is getting ready to destroy all the dinosaurs who are on the island. And they don't want to do that. They want to bring the dinosaurs to a different island to survive. And it looked like it was going to be one of those, a rescue mission thing. But then this one ratcheted up the horror a little bit with some more strange scenarios with people with guns pointing them at, Chris Pratt and, threatening him with something, and then a little girl in bed and this dinosaur's coming towards her, and it's weird looking dinosaurs, and just it looks like that the trying to get the dinosaurs off of the island might only be like half the film, and the other half is going to be like a different place, and color me intrigued on that. I mean, it doesn't grab you like the Jurassic World original movie did. But again, it's just a trailer. We'll see what happens, and we still got. We'll probably get another trailer out of it within the next few months, so that'll be interesting to see. So we'll see. Will I see in the movie theater? It depends. It really depends. I'm not going to go out of my way to see it, but if I happen to have a little chance, boom, I can do it. Let's see any other ones. They finally did reveal that the Dundee stuff we'd been seeing is truly for Australian tourism, with the final ad for the Dundee movie. And now I want to see the Dundee movie with all the actors they had in the previous trailer. I think it'd be a lot of fun if they did that. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be fun. Plus, in this one, you get look at the original Crocodile Dundee, Paul Hogan, who looks like a 90-year-old man dressed as Crocodile Dundee, because basically what he is. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know if I want him in the movie because he just looked really, really bad. So we'll see. So we did that. Hopper from Stranger Things was all over the place with the Tide commercials. They were some of the funniest ones. Just a lot of random little things here and there. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought it was interesting. My wife really liked it because we like Hopper. David Harbour, I think, is his name. And I think he's still going to be a really good Deadpool next January. So I can't wait. Not Deadpool, Hellboy. And I can't wait to see that. I think the commercial that won, which is really kind of funny, is one with Eli Manning and his wide receiver, who has a name I can't think of off the top of my head right now, doing Dirty Dancing and dancing to I Had the Time of My Life. Odell Beckham, that's what it is. And it's funny because there was someone who tweeted out, Eli beats Tom Brady again, because Eli up to this point was the only one who beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl before Nick Foles did, and he did it twice. And so now this commercial, they're talking more about that commercial with Eli in it than anything that Tom Brady did on the field. So it's just kind of funny that's get brought up too. So that was a popular one. I like the Danny DeVito turned into the red M&M. The computer generated red M&M turns into Danny DeVito. He's going around asking people if they want to eat him and stuff like that. And then he gets hit by a car and flies into like some vegetables or something like that. And it's really actually quite funny. I enjoyed that as well. And then the other one I really, really liked a lot is next weekend, the Black Panther movie comes out. Not this weekend, next weekend. And I liked normally I don't like these, superhero or Star Wars, connections with car companies like Star Wars. Like, this is your Star Wars, Honda, choose from the dark side or the light side. And you see Star Wars The Last Jedi. It's like, well, no, they don't have cars at Star Wars The Last Jedi. This one, however, was a Lexus commercial for Black Panther. And it actually was a really brilliant one. It had Chadwick Boseman portraying Black Panther and the actress who's playing his sister. After Black Panther fights a bunch of bad guys, his sister takes his Lexus away from him or something like that and drives away with it. And then he has to run after it. And then he jumps through the moon roof and takes off his costume and then ends up driving it to a opening where the King of Wakanda needs to be. And he comes out all walking up dressed like in a suit and stuff like that. I thought it was very clever and good cross marketing with the Black Panther movie. I'll do a couple of the comic book news things. Speaking of Black Panther, it's on par for $150 million opening. Lots of schools are taking kids during the school day, which I think is really cool. Some lower income schools, people are paying money to let them see a black hero, a black character hero. And I think that's really cool. The Venom trailer will be with Black Panther, so Black Panther 2, they're rumoring that Storm should be showing up in that because that would be really cool as well. A group of disgruntled DC movie fans are going to screw with Black Panther's Rotten Tomato rating. I don't really like the Rotten Tomato ratings anyway, and it's not really indicative of your enjoyment of a movie or whatever. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. I'm not going to talk about that. Just anything else. Ant-Man the Wasp had a trailer for their movie coming out in the summer, and that looks a lot of fun. Can't wait to see that. They announced a Metropolis TV show, which I'm not excited about because they've already got Krypton coming up and they've got Gotham, which both look pretty crappy. PETA wants the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to give up dairy, to go dairy-free, so don't eat pizza. They want them to go vegan in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story. Stan Lee was rushed to the hospital but came back with heart palpitations, but he's okay now. Brian Michael Bendis, we finally found out what he's going to be doing. He's going to be writing both Superman and Action Comics. He's going to be starting with a story in Action Comics 1000. Then he's going to soft reboot of Superman with his Man of Steel 6-issue miniseries. Very familiar with the John Byrne thing that happened in '86. So Bendis is going to do that, and then he's going to spin out a new Superman #1, and then continue Action with 1001. So I'm kind of upset because it means Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason aren't going to be writing Superman anymore, but I've heard they're going to be doing something else. So that's going to be cool. He's also going to reopen Jinx World, which is his personal independent group that did Powers and a few other things as well. So he's going to reopen that up and have it come through DC now instead of Marvel. And then he's also been given a new imprint, which we don't know much about yet, that he's going to be in control of. So we'll see what happens. One of my favorite comics, Astro City, is ending with issue 52. Logan gets an Oscar nod for adapted screenplay, and the Justice League porn parody sweeps the Adult Video Awards. So that's it for your comic stuff. That was some of the stuff that we were going to talk about on the show on this past weekend, but we weren't able to do it. So I did that. I lost a subscriber from YouTube, so back down to 83. Nothing I can do about it. Oh well. And let's see, 2 more things and then I'm going to be out of here. First up, let's do because of this rough week I had at work, I started thinking more about my pop culture coffee idea. I introduced this a while back on my show, and I'm still tinkering with it. It's like my dream project now. So I've got some new ideas for the pop culture coffee stuff, and my wife and I had a discussion on it on our way down to the Metro yesterday from our house. So we had a discussion about that. So she seems to be on board with it. She has some good ideas, and just it's going to take a lot of work, and we'll see if I'm actually going to get on it. But after this crappy week I had, actually crappy 3 weeks basically, it's starting to make me think, you know what, maybe I should just leave that job and do this for myself, because on a day like this, I would be walking to my coffee shop. I'd be opening it up, and I'd be opening it up for people. I'd be going to work. Or, being the owner of the company, I could count on my employees to do the stuff till, the kids were, I could bring the kids because they said they would like to work, at it as well. So I would have lots of options with that. I wouldn't miss like any days anymore. But that's the case. So we'll see about that. It's got new life in my head. I've got some new ideas, and it's still percolating in there. Finally, we're going to end this shortened episode because that's just within the 1 hour range. With my usual solo stuff, we're going to do Check Eye Day because there's some interesting stuff over the last couple of days. Particularly Saturday, there was a bunch that I quote tweeted to Dawn because we had discussions about it. So let me get out of this. Boom. Boom. Come on. Go to my Dylan Knows Twitter account. Come on, man. It's taking forever. Okay, and boom. Do Check Eye Day. All right. So today, again, Check Eye Day is checkeye.com. If you go to your search engine, you type that in, it'll give you a list of all the holidays, because literally every day is a holiday, and there's all kinds of weird ones. I'd like to announce a bunch of them. I retweet them. They're also on Twitter at Check Eye Day. So this is what's coming up. Today, February 5th, is Disaster Day, is Move Hollywood and Broadway to Lebanon, Pennsylvania Day, is National Chocolate Fondue Day, National Weather Person's Day, Western Monarch Day, and it's World Nutella Day. That's all for today. Yesterday was Dump Your Significant Jerk Day, Liberace Day, National Creative Vacuum Day, National Homemade Soup Day, National Quacker, not Quaker, Quacker Day, National Stuffed Mushroom Day, National Thank a Mailman Day, Rosa Parks Day, Super Bowl Sunday, obviously, Torture Abolition Day, USO Day, World Cancer Day. February 3rd was American Painters Day, Elmo's Birthday, Ford Chaplin's Memorial Day, Ice Cream for Breakfast Day, International Pisco Sour Day, National Carrot Cake Day, National Cordova Ice Worm Day, National Missing Persons Day, National Patient Recognition Day, National Wedding Ring Day, Take a Cruise Day, Take Your Child to the Library Day, Day the Music Died. This is all February 3rd. So that's all for that. And then we can take a look at what tomorrow is going to bring, the 6th, and then I will leave here. So 6th is going to bring... All right, so whoops. 6th is going to bring, it is, come on. African American Coaches Day, International Day of Zero Tolerance to Female Genital Mutilation, Lame Duck Day, National Frozen Yogurt Day, Pay a Compliment Day, Ronald Reagan Day. That's all tomorrow, February 6th. So on that note, I think I'm done everything that I'm going to do. I know nobody was watching because I didn't really tell people I was going to be doing this episode, but hopefully, when it gets uploaded, I'll surprise people. Say, hey, surprise, I did do an episode this week, and check it out. I'm not expecting to get a lot of views because, as I said, I don't do this to get the views, and I do it because I like to do it, and it makes me feel a little bit better that I had a chance to do it. So now it's time. It's 12 noon, so I got to get my day started. I've already wasted half the day anyway, and I got to go to work in 17 hours. So we'll see. No, actually, I don't have to go to work. I have to get up in 17 hours. I have to go to work in 19 hours. So back to the grind. So I got 19 hours to go. So on that note, thanks for watching this. Not live, because nobody watched it live because I didn't announce it, but watching it eventually. And I did get an episode out this weekend. I didn't think I was going to, but I did. There will be a new episode this weekend. It'll be either the 10th or 11th. I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided if it's going to be me and Jerry or if it's going to be me solo. I'll have to wait and see. So stay tuned. Also, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday will be my new Comic Haul episode. So some good stuff coming out. So on that note, I'm finally going to say goodbye. Thank you for watching.